The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients.
Greetings. It's Friday, the first day of the last month of the year, December 2023. Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House, and Lindos. I'm Jamal Hartman. He's Roger Denbrook, and Maya Palacio will be with us in a bit to bring you the latest in her news break brought to you by People's Pharmacy. Raj, can you believe we've completed like 11 months in 2023?
Yeah, no, I don't like to think about how time is passing disrespectfully. So,
Yeah, I mean, that can mean one of two things. You're old,
that's definitely part of it.
Yeah, and so you've survived. That's another thing. Yeah, I said one or two things, but many things obviously you can see. But also, we're getting into that stage where people start doing that resolution stuff.
Yeah, I'm not into it.
Yeah, I probably have only made one New Year's resolution in my life, and I was so young that I thought a resolution was a wish, and I was like, oh, my New Year's resolution is to go back to the UK. Yeah,
To go back to the UK. When were you in the UK?
Oh, just for a visit to visit family. That was in 1994. So
Okay.
I weren't paying for my own trips back then. So
Got it.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think I've ever have you ever had a resolution?
I never have, to be honest. And I also made a decision last year. It may sound really weird. I don't celebrate the New Year on December 31st anymore. It doesn't make sense.
I celebrate on my birthday.
Right. Like December 31st, everything is cold and dead. Everything is resting.
Hmm.
It doesn't feel like a new year. So I now celebrate the new year on the first day of spring.
Interesting. Okay. Everybody's got the thing, but it's interesting because Raj, I always say when someone's birthday, I say Happy New Year to them. And people always laugh, and I'm like, but it's a new year for you. What's the fun?
Literally.
It's your new year, right? But people, it's not New Year, it's my birthday. I'm like, it's your new year. You're turning another year.
Yeah, that's not out there.
It's pretty interesting, right?
We just need to learn how to meet people where they're at. If somebody says to me, Happy New Year on my birthday, that is you acknowledging my birthday and another year of life for me. Thank you, and Happy New Year to me on September the 6th.
I got you, Raj. I got you.
Us Virgos have to stick together because your birthday is the 9th?
No, my birthday is not September 9th, Rajay.
It's September the... September? It's September the 7th?
You're half a dozen, I'm a dozen, Raj.
Or you're September the 14th, so you're a bit too far away.
Did you really say the 14th?
You said half a dozen. Oh, September the 6th. Wait, you said you're a dozen. September the 12th, my bad.
Wow, bro. Wow.
Listen, it's 8:05. It's 8:05. Stop it. Don't you dare.
Don't do that to yourself. And you know what? That's not the joke of the day, folks. That's not the joke of the day.
We can actually stop there.
Happy Friday. Karen Simmons says, good morning, TDH family. Happy Friday, December 1st. Stay safe this weekend. Jamaica Smith says, morning all. Mark Arthur C. Phillips says, welcome to the new member. Key Renee, thanks for joining. Yes, she joined yesterday. You too can join and become a member of our YouTube channel. Just hit the join button underneath the video, folks. Please do. We appreciate the support. Greetings, everyone. Thanks for making us part of your daily routine. A good one today as we welcome Dr. Carolyn Armstrong from STAR. It is World AIDS Day, and she's going to be coming on. We're going to be discussing AIDS awareness and management and the like. So looking forward to great conversation with Dr. Armstrong today. The Daily Play It's holiday trivia.
All right.
You ready, Raj?
Hey, we'll see what happens. Like, I think I set the bar high yesterday. That was a fluke. Let's adjust our expectations of Rajay today just a little bit.
Yeah, I think you broke Maya's record yesterday, man. You broke
Let's.
Maya's record.
I don't want competitive Maya on my case. I am afraid of competitive Maya.
Maya, he said the answer so fast. I mean, I swear the question mark weren't even up yet, but we'll see. We'll see. Don't forget to subscribe on our website, thedailyhour.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Let's jump right into it, Raj. So, folks, if you've been living under a rock, well, there's a big headline in the Royal Gazette today. It says December start for landmark Fairmont Southampton project. It says work will start on the development of the iconic Fairmont Southampton Hotel, described by government as the biggest construction project in the island's history and essential for economic recovery. The milestone announcement came from West End Properties, a subsidiary of GenCom, the Miami-based investment firm that purchased the island's largest resort in 2019. So, I mean, there are a lot of people. See, some people just said they want to see it break ground, right? I'm not one of those people. There are many projects that have broken ground and never completed. And I think the government, they did something that I don't think people understood was very political. It's a 20-year plan. Many of these folks probably won't even be around to face the music if it never comes to fruition, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to run with, oh, well, it got started. We promised you I'm not quite sure about this. But anyway, then your friends at the subsidiary of the government, the BTA, they're talking about airlift increasing to near pre-pandemic levels in 2024. Now, I give the BTA a lot of heat because they love comparing year over year and not comparing to 2019 when it comes to arrivals, right? They pushed, oh, we're better than 2022, 2021. Well, duh. You should be. Well, unless you live where I live, where we just do our thing. But anyway, I mean, look, I being seriously, Florida is a lawless state, folks. To most people, there was never a pandemic in Florida. Like, this is just a lawless state. So I'm not even going to throw out comparisons with this crazy place that I live in. But they're saying pre-pandemic levels. Now, attendees at the 2023 BTA Summit were told yesterday that the inbound air capacity was expected to reach 516,897 seats in 2024, approximately 89% of 2019 capacity. However, the summit heard the hotel capacity was expected to remain 75% of 2019 levels, with ground yet to be broken at the Fairmont Southampton. All right, let's stop there, because there's a question. Just using these two stories, here's the question. What needs to happen to make Bermuda tourism successful again? What needs to happen? And Raj, if you don't mind, I'm going to do so. I want to just go first and I'm not going to share my entire answer. But what I will say is, I'm bound to confidentiality and NDAs. So there are things I cannot share from spaces that I work in. But when you're honest, and I'll use the Daily Hour for example. When we ask you to fill out this survey, we're not telling you how to answer it. We literally want you to be honest with us. Because if you're honest with us, then we have to look within and see, how do we fix or change or improve what you want to see, right? That's not how politics and government works. They legit want you to enable them, tell them what they want to hear. That's what they want, because as the Premier David Burke kept saying after 2017, they have a mandate, according to him. The first thing that needs to happen, in my opinion, to make Bermuda tourism successful again is get politicians so far away from it And I mean people who think they have some sort of experience, like Wayne Keynes, has no business near Bermuda tourism. I say that, bro, do your thing at Belco. I mean, there are people who believe you have no business there because you don't have an understanding of how it works. That's problem number one. Have a board that reflects people who are industry centric. If you create this education authority, which I think is a joke as well, I'm pretty sure you're going to have educators and leaders who have an understanding of how to improve education. Being a junior tourism minister does not give you the ability to know what to do for tourism and lead people with tourism expertise. I'm sorry. The problem we have with tourism is we think anyone with a title is a leader. That's not how leadership works. Everyone with a title isn't a leader. And that must be understood by every last one of us. We are saluting people with no credibility, and the only credibility that they have is a title that's been given. Notice I did not say earned. If we want to see Bermuda tourism be successful again, we need industry experts, industry professionals to lead Bermuda out of the state that it's in. Raj, I'm done for now. For now. I have a lot more to say.
And I know, and honestly, on this topic, I am completely and 100% comfortable to defer to you and your expertise, because you are literally an expert in this area, right? And one thing you know about me, and everybody should know about me by this point, Rajay Denbrook stays in his lane, right? I'm not one of these people out here who like to speak to things that I don't fully understand, or I don't have a comprehensive understanding of, in order to represent myself in a certain way, which actually sounds like is a bit of an issue in tourism as well, right? And based on what you just said, right? And this idea of, stay in your lane, and utilize the gifts and understanding that you have, right? And Jamel, he also made this wonderful parallel with education, because as he was talking, it was like, oh my God, this is the education authority. This is the same exact issue that people are talking about now. So it sounds so. Then the issue in education is that you need experts and people who are passionate about educational practice and not politics, right, at this education authority. And there's also the worry that the people who we have now, when you change to the structure of an education authority, it's still not going to improve things, because you're going to have the same people there who have been there for the last 20 plus years, who have been sort of achieving the outcomes that we have been achieving in education. So but that's a whole nother conversation. So this idea of have people in the seats who are there for the work and get politics out of it. That, I mean, I defer to Jamel on this. He's described the dynamic. I think it sounds fair. Get politics out of it, because the same issue exists in education. It needs to get politics out of it and far away as possible. And I think people also need to remember, Jamel, that the Fairmount Southampton redevelopment is a political matter. It's a political matter, right? Which is why there's so much tension and so much convolution around it, because the Progressive Labour Party needs a win. They need a win. If this SDO did not go through, if this redevelopment didn't happen, that would have been another nail in their coffin that they couldn't afford, right? They've given GenCom was 15 years of concessions. I think it's $125 million. Let me make sure I got that right. $121 million of concessions. And the project's meant to have an estimated economic impact of $1.4 billion, 300 million attributed to job creation, and 1.1 billion to quote the broader impact of the demand for local services. So we won't know those numbers until the project actually happens. But I completely respect your point. Get politics out of it completely and create an ecosystem where the experts and people who are passionate and there for the work can actually get the work done.
Yeah. Yeah. What are your thoughts, audience? I mean, Raj just gave you some numbers. What are your thoughts? What needs to happen to make Bermuda tourism successful again? Sir John Swan, when he came on this show, he said, get that hotel deal signed. Now, again, I don't think Sir John is in the conversation in terms of knowing what the deal was actually going to be. Right? I don't think he knew what the deal was actually going to be. Keep in mind, former Minister Curtis Dickinson resigned over whatever was in the deal at the time. Not sure if the same terms, but this has been a hot topic, and it is political. It is political, right? So we need to figure out what we need to do to improve tourism. Again, my short answer is remove the politicians far, far away from this space. Get them far, far away. It cannot be successful if, let's be honest, the number one job of a politician is to get reelected. That's the job of a politician. The number one priority for a politician is to get reelected. It's not the people. The people only become important when it impacts them getting reelected.
And you know what, Jamel, some people may take what you just said and consider it hyperbole. You're being too much. You're being excessive in that statement. But if anything, this government has shown us over these last few years that is the case. Their priority is to do things that are politically expedient. Their relationship with the people of this country is not a priority to them. And I can say that quite comfortably because I've heard it from the horse's mouth, more than one horse's mouth, right? So when you're out here doing things to satisfy a political agenda and to satisfy sort of the partnerships and the relationships that you're creating while you're in those positions and not prioritizing your relationship with the people of the country, everything that you do is going to be tainted. And I will say that comfortably again, when you're not prioritizing your relationship with the people of the country, and you're prioritizing your relationship with international bodies, investors, consultants, it's going to taint you see it in education reform, you see it with the Ocean Prosperity Program, and now you see it here with the Southampton Princess redevelopment. So I do know some stats were shared. I think it was 20. I think it was actually when Charles was still chairman of the
CEO.
It was like 2019, the number of available beds on the island had reached a record low. I remember seeing those figures.
Because Fairmont Southampton closed right before he started, I believe.
So we have to increase. Say it again, I'm sorry.
And Elbow closed as well.
So we needed to increase our beds, but you just gave the figure that I think 75% of our beds were taken up.
We're 75% of the where is it? So the hotel capacity was expected to remain at about 75% of 2019 levels because Fairmont Southampton is closed, and that's the bulk of them.
Okay. All right. So there's just 75% of people were sleeping in those beds. That's what that figure means?
No, it means so if there were 100 rooms available in 2019, only 75 of them are going to be available next year. So,
okay.
Yeah, and I think people should, I'm glad you asked that, should understand what that means, because if we're saying that air capacity is going to be back to where it was, where are these people going to stay?
Right. Which is a justification for the redevelopment, right? We have to increase our beds, and we have to do that. And this is also the lack of beds is having an impact on the rental market, right? Because the rental market here is extremely difficult right now. There aren't a lot of places going around, and they're all hella expensive. and speaking as a single parent, co-parenting, single parent, because I get in trouble for that language all the bloody time. I'm still trying to figure it out. Trying to find a place is almost damn near impossible. So, and then people were saying that this is because of the properties being used for Airbnbs, right? So I'm just saying, if hotel occupancy goes up, perhaps that'll have, if the number of available beds go up, perhaps that'll have a positive impact on the rental market. But just because the beds go up, that doesn't mean that those who have Airbnbs are all of a sudden gonna, put their properties back out for rent. So it could be. So we need to increase beds, right?
Yeah.
So I think as a country, we have to agree with that. And we have to agree that the redevelopment is going to directly address that.
Indeed. Right? Indeed. What needs to happen, folks? What needs to happen to make Bermuda tourism successful again? I think, Raj, pretty much what you're saying is we need investment. But again, what does investment look like? Do we give it all away? Excuse my language, do we prostitute ourselves to the highest bidder?
And Mama, I was born 1990, right? I know, I'm sorry, I didn't need to say that. That's disrespectful. I apologize. No, wait. The youngins, the Gen Zs and younger, are saying the late 1900s now. I was born in the late 1900s. That's not necessary. It's so rude. Yeah. But I went off on a tangent. I have 88. I know better.
Yeah, but I want to bring up Charles' comment because I think this is where we're going. Charles, and again, folks, the question is, what needs to happen to make Bermuda tourism successful again? But Charles is saying, what Rajay is highlighting is that our available beds in 2019 wasn't that great. I believe we had less than half of what we had in the 80s, 90s. Charles, that's it. And the question should lead, because I don't want people to think that I'm sitting here asking what needs to happen to make Bermuda tourism successful again, as if it was successful in 2019. It wasn't. As if it was successful in 2010. It wasn't. As if it was successful in 2005. It wasn't. It may have been better than what it is now, but thank you for that. And Rajay, that's a great point, is it was not, Bermuda tourism has not been great since I was a child.
Right, and that's the point. Because that was the point I was trying to make. When we're talking about when tourism was great, I think back to the 60s and the 70s. You know what I mean? Hearing stories about back then, the taxi drivers talking about that time, people working in hotels talking about time. It was a fun time. It was a Bermudian time. People, bartenders telling me about, we had guests were lost, poured them a drink. They ended up staying the night. The stories that you hear, that energy and that enthusiasm and that sort of human approach to tourism, you don't have that buzz anymore. It doesn't exist. And I remember when I grew up at the St. George's Club. My mom worked there my entire life, and when they changed ownership, she left. So I was there, and you had people at the St. George's Club coming back year after year, and it was a timeshare, right? People coming back year after year after year, and the relationships. There was a couple walking in St. George's the other day. They remembered me from when I was like 12 years old.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So that relationship, that Bermudianness was at the ethos of our tourism product. But like I'm saying, I'm not a tourism expert, right? I'm just a person on the ground. And so I try to stay in my lane as much as possible. So I don't want to try to sound like I'm making a profound point, but as somebody on the ground, as a Bermudian who is inherently a part of our tourism product, and as a St. Georgian, you're a part of the tourism product. You are.
Neglected part, yeah.
Right, you are. But when you're there, you're a part of it.
Yeah.
But people aren't showing up in it anymore. So
No, I agree, Raj. We got to go to commercial break. Come back. I want you to continue, because I remember Mama Dan Brooke, Letitia down there at St. George's Club when I first started at Bermuda Tourism, and we had something down there. And you're right. I just want to emphasize his point is like Bermuda was that place where people kept coming back over and over and over. But Raj, the problem is when those people died off, their children didn't come, because Bermuda was looked at as, for the, what is it, the old, dead, and nearly dead or something like that. Newly, you know what I'm saying? So we never reinvented ourselves. And that was a problem. But we're going to take a quick break. Come back after this. Get ready for Maya in the news break. But let us know your thoughts, audience. What needs to happen to make Bermuda tourism successful again?
In over 30 years, Mailboxes has brought in millions of packages. That's a lot of packages. We started way back in 1990.
Ship a boombox. Well, okay, sure, we can do that. Check you later.
And ever since, we've evolved with our clients' needs.
Welcome back. Thanks again to the BAC Group, Mataquas Lindos, and People's Pharmacy. I'll just go through a few comments. We had Sean DeShield says, is Rajay saying that privatization should be consideration for the BTA? Folks, keep in mind when David Dodwell was the first chairman of the Bermuda Tourism Authority, the intent was for it to be self-funded within 3 years. We're almost 10 years later. The Bermuda Tourism Authority is not self-funded. He goes on to say, Sean DeShields, other jurisdictions in the Caribbean have resorted to privatizing their industry, and most are experiencing record visitor arrival numbers. This is very true. Charles H. Jefferson II says, I worked at South P and Aerial Sands in the 80s, 90s. Tourism was a 9 to 10 month thing. Today, we're lucky to have 5 to 6 months of a season, and that's with far fewer beds. I just want a big thank you to Kia Vernay BDA. She said, this is my Bermuda account. Happy to give support to keep the discussions and awareness going in Bermuda. Happy to give up my Netflix, etc. to support Bermudians instead. Let me tell you how much this means, and we appreciate it. I don't go on tangents and I don't speak of things, but when people financially support what you're doing, as easy as just clicking a button on YouTube, it really means a lot. It really helps. I mean, we're not doing this for the money, but you see Rajay and Maya every day. I'm not going to use myself. It's pretty tiring getting up doing this every day. So to be able to be rewarded for it financially is appreciated. And especially knowing that you could be paying for Netflix or Amazon Prime, but you're choosing to help us financially. It is appreciated. And may others follow your lead. Kia Vernay and Sean DeShields and Mark Arthur C. Phillips and Karen Simmons, all of you who continuously support us financially, we appreciate it. Definitely appreciate it. And on that note, before we bring Maya in, I have a joke. You didn't think I forgot the joke of the day, did you? Oh,
no, I forgot the joke of the day. Get it?
Audience, you want your joke of the day or what? Maya, do you want a joke of the day? Maya, it's just so boring. All right, here we go. Let's make Maya laugh because she laughs when she's not on camera. Here we go. This is hilarious. Get ready to laugh. This is a good one.
Good snippety.
All right. What do you call a cup at a Christmas party?
What do you call a cup at a Christmas party? A cup is at a Christmas party. A jolly sip. I don't know. What are we calling this cup?
A cup, like a police officer. What do you call a cup?
Oh, a cup. A COP. A party pooper. I don't know.
You ready for this one?
Do it.
Audience, what do you call a cup at a Christmas party? Police Navidad. Get it? That's the funniest.
You're stupid.
Oh boy, that's the best one we've had yet. Police Navidad. Boy, let's bring Maya in. That was you gotta give it to me, audience. Thank you. We've got a very important guest coming up, Dr. Carolyn Armstrong. We're going to get serious. But I had to, bring down the tension. Everybody's getting a little iffy this morning, and it's December, getting into the holiday season. So, see, they liked it, I think. I think they liked it, Raj. I think they liked it.
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Look. I'm getting better.
Hey, the rest of December, every time I see a cop, I'm going to be going, police, not be. That's exactly what's going to happen now.
Audience, you see a police officer today in Bermuda, just start dancing.
That's it.
No.
Like, what is this? You should be watching the Daily Hour, then you would know. Jeez.
Exactly. And if they don't know what you're doing, you just share them the link of the Daily Hour. Let's bring Maya in before we get in trouble. Dr. Carolyn Armstrong, it is World AIDS Day, folks. You want to be a part of this conversation, another important community conversation. Do not go anywhere. Any time that we lose, we will make up.
Good morning.
Morning, MP. How are you?
I actually chuckled, so maybe I'm feeling pretty good this morning.
She laughed at my joke. You guys don't know how hard that is to do. All right.
You know what? Maya knows the power of her positive, and like you divvy it out like a skilled teacher. You know exactly when to give positive reinforcement and just when to hold it back. It's awful.
She I don't know. I don't think I've ever made a laugh on camera. So still working on that part.
I think you did at one point or another. I'm not going to deny that one. I feel like it was a day when I was with Sancho or something.
Okay. All right. Sancho brings that energy. How you doing today, MP? You want to add anything to today's conversation? What Bermuda needs to do to make tourism successful again?
I feel like we know the obvious one is to get, Southampton back up, or just getting more beds on the island, really, just because what I did see in the tourism summit that was recently talked about, I think you guys mentioned it as well, it's just the fact that, sure, the flights are increasing, but the beds, yeah, and it makes no sense bringing people here if they have nowhere to sleep. So
yeah, indeed. Yeah. What you got for us today?
All right, well, good morning. This is Daily Hour News Break brought to you by People's Pharmacy. Starting off the news early this morning that the Bermuda police on Wednesday, November 29th, they conducted an operation called Moonstone. Now, during the operation led by Technical Operations Police Support Unit, assisted by other units within the BPS, officers executed a warrant under the Misuse of Drug Act at a Warwick Parish residence. During the course of the ensuing search, officers discovered and seized a quantity of U.S. currency along with a substantial amount of suspected controlled drug, crack cocaine. A 40-year-old male was arrested in connection with this operation, and the investigation to this matter remains ongoing. They say members of the public are reminded, should they have any information on the criminal activity occurring in the community, to please call them at the main police number at 295-0011.
Man, the police have done a job in the last 2 years, and
They have.
good props to them. I don't know how they're doing it, but keeping our streets safe, I guess, is what they're paid to do, right?
And this is it. And I think one thing that I really appreciate about their approach is that they're not criminalizing people for simple possession.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? They're going after the big stuff,
Yeah.
which is exactly what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, and if you recall, like I remember mentioning about the whole, if you have that small quantity and what they're doing right now within the laws, I'll probably have an update on that next week, because there was some new things happening within there. So definitely look out for doing a report on that too. In other news, there was a little bit of an update coming from the police as well when it came to Ajani Lima Bascom. So I'm going to read it out here to you, where Darren Simmons, the Commissioner of Police, stated that at this stage, we believe that Ajani is being assisted by complicit adults. However, it is important to note that we do not have any evidence of harm inflicted upon him. We have dedicated vulnerable persons team in place who are actively involved in the search efforts. This team is composed of highly trained professionals who specialize in handling cases involving missing individuals. Rest assured, we are doing everything within our power to locate Ajani and ensure his safety. We are committed to utilizing all available resources and expertise to bring this situation to a positive resolution. And again, as a reminder, 16-year-old Ajani Bascom is considered a juvenile. And to be clear, harboring a juvenile is an offense punishable under the law. They also say that additionally, we are having dialogue with the Department of Child and Family Services to ensure that all necessary steps are being taken to protect Ajani's well-being. And they closed by saying if you have any information on his whereabouts, and would prefer to do so, please contact the Department of Child and Family Services by calling them at 278-9111.
Indeed. If you know something, say something, folks. What else you got, Maya?
Well, Cheval Dylan Burgess's case is still ongoing and it's being covered by the Royal Gazette. So if you want to stay up to date on that case, I would suggest looking at the stories in the Royal Gazette. And I'll again have a further update for you guys next week on the ongoingness of this case. And looking at what we're talking about tourism as well, just a quick reminder what came out the other day from the Minister of Tourism, Culture and Sport, Owen K. Dow, that he met with the CEO, Danielle Vera, and President Mariko Thomas to discuss the ongoing tourism initiatives and to learn about the important role that the Chamber plays in supporting the tourism economy. So that's something that recently happened.
Interesting. I would have loved to be a fly on that wall.
It's a really nice photo op.
Well, you said it.
And closing on my news this morning, we're talking sports, more specifically the World Cup, because we know that there's a match at 7:30 against St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So just a little background and some information on to like how we're making it to the playoffs or the format of the CONCACAF Women's Gold Cup for those who do not know. This image here should give you a pretty good clue as to what's going on. Bermuda right now is those purple dots that you see in League B. We are League B Group C, so we're with Dominican Republic, Bermuda, St. Vincent, Grenadines, and Barbados. And right now, Bermuda is sitting very nicely at the top of that league, and we only have 2 more matches to go in order to make it to that playoffs. So just look out for that tonight. We're doing St. Vincent versus Grenadines tonight against Bermuda. And it's a very winnable game for us. So definitely fill out those crowds and cheer on the team as they try to gain another 3 points. And then they'll be playing Barbados again on the 5th. And just to look out for some additional players that will be coming out on the field for the very first time. We got 2 senior debuts, Christia Lugo Alabox and Catherine Bean Rosario. And this is the first time they have been called up to international duty for the senior women's national team. And they should be stepping out tonight, 7:30 p.m. on that field in the next match window as we
start. Something that's just come through via Island Stats is word is reaching islandstats.com that the match between Bermuda's women's national team and St. Vincent and the Grenadines scheduled for December 1st at the Florida Duffy Southfield Stadium at National Sports Center will not be played. It has been rumored that visa issues prevented St. Vincent and the Grenadines from entry into the United States of America on the way to Bermuda. More on this developing story coming soon. So that's just come through from islandstats.com. Again, that's from islandstats.com. Just came through. So Maya, I
believe if you say it. Nothing came through my emails this morning, and I was on the page.
I broke a rule. I just went on there for one thing because I wanted to mention Larry last night, but I came across that. I'm not supposed to be looking at my phone during Maya's news report. So, but that's what happened. So sorry.
Oh, thank you that you did, because now I'm gonna follow up with that. But yeah, if they don't play, it's a winnable game for them anyway. Hopefully they just get the scores. I know that won't be as great, but St. Vincent's sitting at the bottom of the seat. There's no real.
Well, folks, follow Maya on, if you don't already, follow her on social media today so she can keep you updated on that. If there's a game tonight, I'm putting pressure on her because I know she's going to do it. But just follow her on social media so that she can keep you up to date on that.
Yeah, definitely. I was doing a whole story for these today. So good. Thank you for mentioning that, Jamal. So that's good to know. And then lastly, I guess we're looking at the weather for today before we close out and get our guests in here. But it's looking like some sunny spells developing after a rough, cloudy start. And we have a high of 70 degrees today. All
right, real quickly. And I was only going on there for colleague Larry Marshall Jr. moderated an event last night for the Department of Youth for Sport or Department of Sport? Sport. They did a high performance. Last night. Recreation. Yeah, if I can't remember the departments, but youth sport recreation, and he moderated an event. Some of the panel was Craig Brown, Maurice Lowe from BFA, and a few others. And it was a really interesting conversation. If you haven't checked it out, you can go on Island Stats and look at that video. It was very long, about two plus hours, but interesting conversation on sport and some interesting comments as it relates to burning young people out when it comes to sport. So I hope that if you have young people involved in sport, check that out. It might be helpful for you. Raj, do you have a days of the year for us?
No, my days of the year today is World AIDS Day. I'm not going to say anything about it because we're going to have a wonderful discussion.
I like the way you did that. You do have a days of the year. It's World AIDS Day.
It's
Before you go, any plans for the weekend?
Other than editing stories and getting ready for Monday.
I was literally hoping she was going to say rest. I just knew it had to do with work. You know what? Get some rest. I'm not saying not to live your life, but take care of yourself, sister. All right?
Thanks.
That's
Bye,
just
guys.
radical.
See you soon, Maya. Have a great weekend. Folks, we're going to take a quick break. We're coming back with our guest, Dr. Carolyn Armstrong. Please don't go anywhere. Maya is really one of the most hardest. Let me just say this with Roger. Remember Teo back in the day at Hot 107.5?
Jesus.
Teo was there from like 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. dailies, right? And we were mid-20s. You were like probably 15, 14, whatever.
Yep.
But she is the closest thing I've seen to Teo in that respect. Like her dedication and her commitment to what she does is second to none. I will never, ever try to kill that because she's young. Do it while you can. Teo just had, a baby recently. So, 15, 16 years ago, he was doing that. I just want, like Teo back then, I believe that we can take care of ourselves as well as commit. So I love her. I love what she does. And I just hope that everyone appreciates the dedication and commitment that she puts into her work because it's a lot. We're going to be right back with Dr. Carolyn Armstrong. Do not go anywhere.
People's ACW, located at King Edward VII Memorial Hospital, carries over-the-counter medicines, toys, cards, and even toiletries. Our knowledgeable staff are there whether you're at emergency, visiting family, or a member of BHB staff, to show you our best even when you're feeling your worst. People's ACW, we're here for you.
When it comes to footwear, we carry functional, comfortable, orthopedic, and waterproof shoes. We have construction shoes, golf shoes, shoes for walking, shoes for boating. We even have shoes for pickleball. We have shoes for everyone. With brands by Skechers, Atrax, Propay, Easy Street, Nursemates, Clogs, Avenger, Cherokee, Cat, Frog Talk, and DeWalt. The list goes on.
See it all at our new expanded location on Bakery Lane.
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's Next Level.
Alrighty, welcome back to the big show. Rajay Denbrook. I am Jamel Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House Lindo's, and People's Pharmacy. Do not forget to subscribe on our website, thedailyhour.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Without further ado, let's bring our guest in. Let's give a warm TDH welcome to Dr. Carolyn Armstrong for a good conversation. Well, before we bring in, I remember I was in Northland Secondary. I'm going to tell this story because I think this is as far as I remember her speaking about this. How long advocacy? My mind doesn't remember much. It reflected in my grades in high school. I believe the gentleman that she brought to speak at the school was named Dennis Steed. I could be wrong. And she brought this gentleman in back then, and he had a book as well. And really, it was probably one of the one times I remember everyone in assembly focused and paying attention to what they were saying. It was so impactful. But I was in high school back in, I don't want to age myself, but we're talking 25 years ago. That's how long she's been doing, at least how long she's been an advocate for this. And I say that and I share context because I want people to understand something Rajay and I have been talking about. Advocacy isn't reactive. Advocacy isn't just something you show up when you feel like it. Advocacy is consistent. It's work. For me to remember her from all the way back then, and I just hope I got the gentleman's name right, it tells you who this person is and what they're about. Let's give a warm TDH welcome as we bring into the studio for the conversation. Morning. How are you?
Good morning, good morning, good morning. I have been sitting here enjoying this dialogue, really enjoying it.
Wonderful.
And I know that you brought me on because today is World AIDS Day, and that's something that you want to have the discussion about. But can I sort of like just give my little comment?
Yes, we welcome that. Please do. Please share.
Okay. First of all, I'm going to pose a question. You don't have to answer it. But what is our largest, most respected, most attractive commodity?
The people.
Our personalities.
Yes.
ma'am.
Us, we as a people, we certainly are that. And I wanted to say, and I wrote this down, that we must advertise the market, not only for the tourists, but we must be creative and aggressive in making the job market attractive to Bermudians again. And I mean, really, to the born and bred Bermudian, this will be the strongest drawing tool, I believe, because I worked in the industry. I worked at Sonesta Beach Hotel, and I can remember the repeated guests. Now, I was not out front, except one night. I think I used to do a hostess in one of the La Fontaine somewhere. But anyway, I can remember the repeat guests remembered all of us. And, just the family just grew year after year after. We watched people's families grow up, and, when they were 16, and then the guys in the dining room were able to sort of, take them and watch over them while they were out on the bikes. And I mean, Bermuda the industry became one huge family.
And then, I honestly, we really do appreciate when people come in and they've been paying attention and they want to add value to that conversation. And I thank you for that. I really do, because if you can sit here and ask that question and both of us answer knowing the answer is us, it's our personality, it's our mannerisms and so on, what are we really doing? Now, I did say that I am tied by confidentiality and NDAs. But what I will say is, you said something else just now that we actually do where I work in the tourism space in Florida. One of the things we do is we understand it's like a company. You have to take care of your employee first to be able to take care of the customer. So we actually focus on the local as much as we do the visitor. One reason for that, if you don't take care of the local, who's going to take care of the visitor? So thank you for that. And again, I didn't want to age either of us, but I hope that I told that story correctly of you coming to Northlands way back when.
I remember that.
Wow.
I remember that. And you did get the gentleman's name correct.
Wow.
You definitely did. You did. He was a wonderful character, very colorful character. I won't forget him. And I'm sure, since you haven't forgotten not even the name, that his story was very, very impactful. And so who else, I wonder, who else's life did he touch? And along the way, how many lives have we actually touched in terms of what was going on in Bermuda? How can this impact me? Now a new level of understanding as to what's going on in my neighbor's house. Or even with my uncles and godmother and godfather and, that kind of thing. I can remember going to another school, I want to say maybe about 6 years ago. And we were, now bear in mind, I'm not the clinician.
Right.
So we would go and we would team and partner with the Department of Health and the nurses. And so while they did one thing, we did sort of what we would call a sensitivity and awareness piece. And there was one little fellow with his head down, and the teacher was annoyed because, of course, she had prepped her students for guests. And the students actually, some were engaging, others were. And one little fellow had his head down with his arm covering. And I looked at him. I didn't recognize who he was, but I knew something was different about it. I didn't think he was just trying to be naughty. So I did ask the teacher if I could take him outside just for a minute. And she said, well, Ms. Armstrong, the nurse is speaking. I said, but obviously there's something else going on.
Mm-hmm.
So we went outside, and when that little fellow walked out, he had kept his head down. When we got outside the door, he looked at me, and I looked at him, and I immediately knew who he was.
Mm-hmm.
I had been to his home, his grandmother's home, at least 3 different times for 3 different members of the family who had passed already. You think this little fellow wanted to hear anything about AIDS or HIV? No, he didn't.
Right.
Do you think he wanted to hear me talk? No, he didn't.
Right.
And so I asked if he could be excused for the day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to ask that without disclosing
Mm-hmm.
his situation. So of course we don't want to do that.
Right.
But I just let her know he's really, really tired.
Mm-hmm.
And for him to sit here at some point,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to happen again. Can he just be dismissed until tomorrow?
Well, and that's the human part of it, right? That especially in a small community. But just speak to us. It is World AIDS Day. Why is it important to acknowledge World AIDS Day in Bermuda?
Well, it is important. Today is December 1st, and that's worldwide. For us, things are different this year, very different this year. Well, back in the day, we did lots and lots of huge projects. We would have huge things going on. But this year, things are a little different. Back in the day, we were anticipating death. We were anticipating someone's demise. And sometimes we could almost predict roughly about when a person might leave us. But within the Star family, and we're much smaller today, but within the family, we've had some intense and very critical crisis. We've had crisis in the last 4 months. 1 month after the other, there's been death and stroke and 3 heart attacks at one time. And so at this point, there's a huge bit of grieving going on within the team, within the residence lighthouse, where we have a home there for persons living with HIV. It's a home set up for men, women, and children with HIV. Sometimes it's also an affected person that will join an infected person in the home. And so within the home, there was a death in July and then 1 in August. And then in October, there were 3 heart attacks. Now, none of this is related to HIV, outside of the immune system being compromised, terribly compromised. And so what's happening now is our clients are actually succumbing to the delicate state that their immune system is in. And then we lost someone very, very strong for us and a member of staff. And that was early this month. So things right today we're pulling it together. Mm-hmm. We're pulling it together. But I wanted to be sure to come on today to let folk know the severity is still there. Yeah, the severity of the crisis and the challenges that people face are still there.
Yeah, because I think they're over time people have you've got these commercials now that make it seem like, oh, it's okay, we have so many different medications and so on. And I think that's why recognizing it and having these conversations is important. And as far as a theme, what's the theme for World AIDS Day this year?
Well, we try to continue with, or we have continued over the years with the sensitivity piece. But what I'd like to say to Bermuda today is to be intentional about being aware, to the point where we will talk to our children. We will continue the conversation with those who are no longer the target audience, like those that are in school. They're a target audience and a market that we can easily access. But there are so many who have not. There are so many who miss what's important, and that is to be intentional about your health care, to be intentional about your sexual activity, to be intentional and have conversations, to be intentional about what your standards are. If your standards are low, raise them. If you've not known anything at all, go ahead and do the research, seek us out, search us out. We are no longer working the way we used to work with the Department of Health. We still work together, but where there used to be a daily walk, we worked hand in glove with the Department of Health. The nurses from the Public Health Department, we worked hand in glove with them daily. But today, situations have changed. And I think the huge change came with COVID. And a lot of the time we couldn't access our nurse because she was busy with the COVID. And we know when COVID became a pandemic, that was crazy. And of course, also with a lot of our clients, fear, panic. Some of them became symptomatic because of their immediate diagnosis, because of the way that COVID was ripping and running through our island.
Understood. I've said before, I said earlier in the show, I said I was born 1990, right? So the HIV and AIDS, I know, but it's relevant. That's why I said it goes relevant. The HIV and AIDS pandemic was largely lost on me because I was so young. It was everywhere in the media. You saw it like on commercials between cartoons, etc. But exactly what it was, I've never had to learn that. And it's really like that's like a generational privilege. But in preparing these questions last night, I had to take a deep dive into HIV and AIDS and sort of have some sort of solid understanding and quickly realized it's in 2023, it's still relevant. Yeah. And you said it, you have to be intentional about not just your understanding, but how it is you go about being yourself and how seriously you take your health. But with that said, what exactly is the difference between HIV and AIDS?
Well, HIV is the virus that causes AIDS. HIV, what we didn't know HIV from the very beginning, it was just AIDS, the acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, which meant there were a whole conglomerate of things that added to the demise of a person. You become symptomatic, and of course, back then, the very difficult situations were that when a person went into the hospital, most of the time they didn't come out and away from the hospital. But over the years, the research, the medications, and from start, lots and lots of prayer, we learned how to navigate through the deaths and navigate through the grieving that the families were going through, so that we would learn every Monday night. Russ Ford, if you would remember Russ, one of our founding members, one of our visionaries actually, Russ would sit us down and he would teach us. Now, this island, we knew nothing about AIDS, but Russ would every week connect with the West Coast of America and come back and teach and train. And of course, the one thing he said, which was so important, is the information comes here, but please allow it to move that 18 inches down to the heart. And I think that's one of the things, the greatest things that made us such a great team and such a viable entity in this country, is not only that we learned and we became informed, but we allowed that crossover. And Bermuda, if we're touched with something that's going on with the next person, we are engaged. We are right there with it. We are the ones who would go into the hospital and into the hospital rooms. And way back then, there were people who were not sensitive enough, even medical professionals. In the hospitals, I can remember going to the hospital on a lunchtime to visit with somebody, and their breakfast was still outside the room. The panic and the stigma, all of that loomed over us all of the time, even within the hospital at up until a point. So the difference now with AIDS was taking people down. Then we learned through more research that it was a virus that was causing this. The human immunodeficiency virus. So that's the difference. And people are living with the virus. At one point, we had the acronym PLWAs, people living with AIDS. Now we have LHIV, people who are living very, very well, relatively well, I'm going to say, because recently we run a home named Lighthouse. And within Lighthouse, those things that I just listed that have been going on this past since July, right through this month, happened all at Lighthouse. That was very scary to everyone. I had not experienced death upon death upon death, month after month after one, and some within the same week for many, many years. Now, we opened Lighthouse in 1993. And what was so advantageous to the charity was I did have a desire to live in that home and set a standard and to make sure that just to coordinate the entire running of the house and all of the things that needed to happen there. And so we did that. We were able to do that. My husband and I went to live there, raised our son there for 6 years. And so when it came to when they began to show the difference between AIDS and HIV, automatically there was a shift in my mind. And then we were able to convey that to a lot of the clients that, okay, if I don't have AIDS, I'm not going to die right away. Maybe I can live a little longer because there were all kinds of medications now that were available that would assist with the virus. So the virus didn't mean to them death, imminent death. It meant I can survive much longer. I get to do some other things. I get to hope. I get to set some goals. And the goals were beautiful. We had folks that left home from Lighthouse to go to Bermuda College to school.
Wow, this is very heart-centered work. It's very much people first, heart first.
That's right.
Sort of work. And you said something that was just like a reminder. That's who we are as Bermudians. That's because we're talking about this tourism product. Like, one of my favorite things about being Bermudian is that it's that Caribbean thing, you know what I mean? Like, we wear our hearts on our sleeves on a good day.
Yes.
And it's the most, and especially, but coming from a background in theater, it's the richest. And you saw this, Serafina, not to go off on a tangent, you saw the Bermudian heart come out, you know what I mean? And this work is the same thing. But not to go off on too much of a tangent, I'm sorry. So what is the prevalence of HIV in Bermuda in 2023? And also, how does it compare with the rest of the Caribbean?
Well, and our prevalence today is 0.5%. 0.5% for us. I would say that, and this is not boastful either, but STAR has worked very hard and very long and has proven its credibility. So much so that the last time I traveled to the Caribbean, they were applauding Bermuda because as they were seeing from their perspective that we were second to none in what was going on. I must commend our government for the way that they took hold of this and ran with it. The government took care of almost every department, invited us to the table. When it came to social services and children's services, when it came to the legal system, when it came to transportation, all we had to do at that point in time was make an application. And every client had access to free public transportation, including the bus and the ferries. And then, of course, the medications were free. The healthcare was over the top. It was phenomenal. There were a team of doctors. I can remember a team of doctors come together, and we sat in a boardroom. And Star, who was not clinical at all, and neither were we we were not a part of the medical profession, but we were that social team. We were that other team there that was hands-on the backside of the desert where the doctors were not going. And the nurses, sometimes we would all work together and get out there and go and seek out and search for people who lived under the rock, as it were, who lived in the car world, who lived in the cave, or who just went to the shooting gallery and never left, went to the crack house and just didn't leave. But we would go in, and I'll tell you this much, Star grew us up. We had to. We could not be squirmish about anything that we saw. We had to simply say, this is it, and this is where we go, and this is how we go. When it came to the doctors who sat at the table, because we realized that we need far more than just going out into these spots in the community and these isolated spots, and sometimes in people's homes. And then people didn't want you to come to the house, meet me at the beach. They didn't want to see my blue van in the neighborhood because it was the big A. And I'm grateful to the government. Again, we have never had our vehicle marked, never, even today. We have the privilege of having an unmarked vehicle so that our folk that ride in the vehicle are not easily identified. So we're not disclosing their HIV status. And I wanted to say this to you as well, that when it comes to discrimination, I don't want to say it doesn't exist anymore, because wherever it is, we do get the Karens. Well, that's like an American thing, I guess.
No, it's not.
I was going to say, we got Karens, oh shoot.
We get the Karens and the what's the guy?
Ken. Kevin's or Ken's?
Ken's,
Okay,
I think it's
that's
Ken's.
right.
I think it's Ken's.
Every now and then, just every now and then, for people who know. And so what we're saying today is we're having to, okay, we had folk come to the house to do some work, to Lighthouse to do some work. And there were certain of the guys who remained in their rooms, would not come out for anything, because they knew the crew. They knew the people who came to do some maintenance work at the house. And so later, we had conversation, and they said, I thought I was really comfortable. I'm still not that comfortable with every and anybody knowing what my status is. And so sometimes it's not the community, it's where the mindset of the individual is.
Yeah, they've internalized it, which is, understandable.
Yeah.
Considering again, the deep dive that I took last night, just reading these stories about the stigma and discrimination that people still face today.
Yeah.
Because they're living with HIV. It was shocking to me. You actually answered my next question. So if Jamel, if you want to,
I remember Raj born in 1990, so he wouldn't remember the great announcement by Irvin Magic Johnson. And in 1991, when he made that announcement, I remember the stigmas that were still attached and the like. And, as Magic Johnson would say, people are not educated. People thought that, you could still catch people breathing in your space or just a hand and so on. So I think we've come a long way. And I'm grateful listening to you today that there seems to be progress internally and externally. But what can the general public do? What can we all do to support and participate in the work that you're doing? Not just for World AIDS Day, but just in general.
Well, you know what? It's funny you should say that. Tomorrow we are having a furniture sale down at Lighthouse, and everything has to go. So if anyone that's in our listening audience who would like to support, come by. If you don't need it for yourself, perhaps someone else is in need, and you could help them. You could certainly come by and help us with our huge Christmas project that's going on. It's going to begin, I think the project begins on Tuesday. And as our house manager has passed very recently, and the lady the lady who's was like been my partner in crime, we would always call it and laugh with each other, for well over 20 odd years, has now retired. And so we do need more hands to come on board to get this Christmas project out. We have 40 plus hampers to get out, and well over 100 gifts to get out to families and children. And if there's anything that you care to donate, one of the things that happens is Lighthouse is a very, very lovely place to live. And a lot of the time, families would approach us and ask us about a loved one coming to live at Lighthouse. And of course, we have the bed for them. We certainly open those doors. Sometimes at one point, we had up to 13 people living in that home, including an entire family sharing a room 2 children and mom and dad. But today, some of those families, one family actually said, you know what, they're living better than I am. Look at this property. I'm right on top of my neighbor, but look at where my brother lives. And so they haven't shown up. The brother has now moved into better than he had. But he landed there for a reason that none of us wanted to have to enter into. But he's there. So what's his home is one thing, but his house, his body, his mind, his emotions, his heart, his psyche is also affected. Because when you ostracize someone because they're doing well, what is that? That's not even Bermuda. We applaud each other when we're doing well. You encourage someone to do better, even when you're, like we said, people are living longer and have better opportunities to just intensify and increase the quality of their lives. But then you have folk who are unable to do that. A lot of our clients don't read well. A lot of our clients don't write well, but they do have the will to be with family again, the will to reconnect, the will to bring healing, so that one fellow said, I'd like to have my family down for Christmas. I said, and you can do that. Choose a day. Choose a day, and we'll have volunteers right here. You won't have to do a thing to help you, because he takes pride in who he is today, takes pride in where he lives today. And so why deprive? So Bermuda, you know your own heart. You know, so many people are listening to one thing, but many of us have different takes on it. You know your own self. You know what it is that your heart is being drawn to. Come and have the conversation. Let's see where you can be of assistance. Let's see where you can help. One of the things we are looking for, though, we're looking for a volunteer fundraiser. We're looking for that. When we look out and we see how other charities are being favored and blessed by finances, we look at that and we don't have that anymore. We did at one point, but remember, this has been a long journey, and it's a draining journey. It's a journey that if you're not in place, then you end up ill. And one of the things we try to do is, we had a very intense buddy system, but because people are living longer and doing better, they have actually asked the question, do we have to have a buddy system? Do we need to continue with this? Just reminds me that I'm sick. Just remind me of my diagnosis. And remember now, when you answer the phone at home, Jamal, how do you answer when you answer your phone, your cell?
Ratings.
Or your landline? How do you answer the phone?
Ratings.
Okay. And now, how about you, Roz?
I always say, what do I say? I say either good morning or good afternoon, and I say my name. So I'll say good afternoon, Rajay.
Okay. And I the same. But at Lighthouse, when you answer the phone, it's good morning, Lighthouse. That makes, see the difference? And so it's still that reminder that something's different. And that's the only thing. We've made sure that nothing else is different. Just the way a person would answer the telephone, because it's also a business.
Indeed.
And so it has to be, you know, we have to identify the other end of the line.
Awesome. I definitely, I hear you and I feel you, especially on the funding. As we've seen over time, and I don't want to feel like I'm attacking anyone, but I watch very closely, as anyone who watches this show would know, as to who gets the support, the funding, and why they get the funding. And the unfortunate part, we are out of time, but the unfortunate part is a lot of it is trendy. Rajay and I talk about that a lot. it's what's trending. And unfortunately, HIV/AIDS support is not trendy. And I'm going to say it might offend people, but supporting the Pride Day, for instance, it's trendy, right? It's trendy. It's trendy. Supporting certain causes, it's trendy.
Racial equity and justice, Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, let's be honest, Black Lives Matter. It's trendy. It's trendy. So I think you make a valid point, and I really hope that if nothing else, that people who are tuned in right now understand that organizations like this don't exist without community support. And Karen Simmons, she says, thank you, Star, for the support of our family in early 2000s. Blessings. And then Mark Arthur C. Phillips says, thank you, Dr. Armstrong, for showing such compassion, love, care to persons affected with AIDS. Shannon Smith says, thank you, Aunt Carolyn, for all your work over the years. And, again, like, I'm going to be honest with you. My colleagues, my friends and family ask me, do I remember stuff all the time? And I'm like, no, I don't. For me to remember the impact that you had just from that time, all the way, we're almost 30 years ago, probably. For me to remember the man's name tells me that the work that you're doing is meaningful. And I hope that as a community, just because it's only 0.5%, which I think you mentioned, doesn't mean that we shouldn't still show the same compassion, attention to the issue. I appreciate what you've done, but before you go, we are out of time. I just want you to let people know how they can get in contact with you, reach out to support you and the like.
Have your pen and have your paper ready, or have your thumbs ready. And that would be 292-5941. That's actually the office number. You can reach us easily on 335-4265. Our email address is starcharity131@gmail.com. Failing that, Mrs. just MRS CL Armstrong@gmail.com. Might I also add, I've been the face for a very long time, but there's a team and a crew of people that I could never, ever, ever do without. So thank you again so much. I really, really appreciate this. And my connection is waning.
Do not be a stranger. We'll be in touch. We don't have to wait for World AIDS Day to have these important conversations.
Thank you, Jamel.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And enjoy the holidays. Have a wonderful.
Will do. Thank you.
Dr. Carolyn Armstrong, folks, if you appreciated the conversation, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. I think a lot was said this morning, and I'll touch on it when we wrap it up. But I just want people to understand, we live in a world where we literally go with what's trendy. That's a dangerous way to support things. But we'll talk about that when we come back, wrap it up. Also got the daily play for you. So stick with us. We'll be back right after this.
Hi, welcome to ER Fisheries. I'm Jalen Steed, store manager and trained chef, and I'm here to help you with all of your food needs. Let's talk about why you should come and check out ER Fisheries. We offer the widest range of specialty meats and seafood items at a price point that will absolutely fit your budget. As a chef, I'm able to answer all of your food questions, help you come up with meal ideas, and generally guide you in the right direction. You'll get a custom shopping experience unlike any other food store in Bermuda, where we'll cater to your needs and provide you with excellent customer service. Where else can you get quality cooking advice and quality products? I look forward to helping you with all your meal ideas.
All right, welcome back. Thanks again to Dr. Carolyn Armstrong for that most important community conversation. Folks, if you can, if you would love, reach out to them, see how you can help them. Thanks again to our sponsors, the BAC group of companies, Medical Gloves, Lindos, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring we can have these important community conversations with you. It is time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Bermuda Trivia. Folks, Bermuda Trivia is now available at stores throughout Bermuda. I believe Volume 2 has been released for Christmas. for the holidays. So you want to check that out. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. All right, Roger, you ready?
Let's do this.
All right, here we go. Oh, can I look at the answer first real fast?
Yeah, of course you can.
Okay. Oh, you're not going to get this.
Oh, nope. Dang, this is what I'm saying. Damn it, Jamal.
Raj, this is the most random question. I just picked it out of the box. I didn't know what. Okay, here we go. Of 365 days a year, what number is Christmas Day?
What number is Christmas Day? Oh, shut up. Wait. How many days in December? One and two. I ain't mathing. Minus 6. What's 360? It was the pressure.
You did the minus right. It's minus 6 is what? 65 minus 6 is what?
59?
Yeah. So the answer is 3.
It was too much pressure.
Folks, that's the most random of questions. But yes, you just minus the 6 from Suzanne Ingham. She had you, man. She had you.
Don't be doing the amount of residual trauma I have from doing mental math in school.
Raj, math was not my thing either. That's why when I saw it just now, I'm like, okay, minus 6, 65. But I still didn't say it out loud because I didn't want to be wrong. But thankfully, I didn't have to answer it. You did.
Listen, that was mean. That was an inconsiderate thing you just put me through.
I'm like that, Raj. I'm like that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I should know that. Why am I acting brand new?
Let's wrap it up, Work Academy. What final thoughts? And then the important conversation with Dr. Armstrong.
Our people are our greatest asset, Chabelle. Our people are our greatest asset. And I really think we don't understand how beautiful and how magical we are as Bermudians. I have been around the world a bit. My favorite place I've ever been to is South Africa. I was there for 6 weeks doing a theater project. Loved it. And you know why I loved it? Because it reminded me of Bermudians. When Bermudians are free and we're enthusiastic and we're just enjoying ourselves, the warmth and the enthusiasm and the creativity that we bring to things is magnetic. It's beautiful. And we need to remember that for our tourism product. We need to remember that when we're approaching matters of public health, like HIV and AIDS, we need to lead from the heart first. And we need to allow Bermudians to be Bermudians. Because one thing that has happened is that our culture's gone away where we have forgotten who we are. We don't value who we are anymore. We're not enthusiastic about who we are anymore. So when we're talking about revitalizing our education system, revitalizing tourism, we need to be talking about fundamental things about how do we revitalize our relationship with ourselves as Bermudians. And if we can figure that out, you're going to see that understanding and that new revitalized enthusiasm and love for us begin to translate into everything. So we can tinker at the top all we want, but if we don't get back to ourselves.
Yeah. No, I echo everything you said. And I think, as stated earlier, our people are our greatest asset. And we cannot take care of others without first taking care of whom. What they say, you take care of whom first. It reminds me, and this is really a funny analogy, but it makes sense. When you get on an aircraft and they say, put your mask on first before you try to help someone else, right? There's a reason for that. Because that child or elderly person that you may try to help first may need you after, but because you've helped them now, you're going and you're no longer there. It's important. It's important to take care of Bermudians and make sure that Bermudians are in a space where they can give the best for Bermuda. As far as the conversation with Dr. Armstrong, as much as she said, I'm really stuck on one thing. She's been doing this forever. And it's important work. Important work requires community funding and community support. My hope is that someone today who watched or tuned in can, give that support or know someone who can give that support. The work cannot stop. It must continue. Just because it may not be as prevalent as it once was does not mean it's no longer important. Raj, you have any daily inspiration for us today?
I do. I have a thought, and then I'm going to actually give my actual daily inspiration.
All right, man. Come on, let's go.
Okay, never mind. I'll skip my thought.
No, go ahead. I want to hear it now. You got me hyped.
No, I'm sorry. No, like I look forward to the day when political leadership prioritizes uplifting Bermudians. And again, because I'm speaking as a Bermudian who's been here for 12 years, Jamel, I should be almost to my PhD, sir.
Mm-hmm.
I should be working on being Dr. Rajay Danbrook right now. That was my plan. There is no reason why I should be in the position that I'm in. And the only reason why I'm in the position that I'm in, because the people in charge of the fields that I'm interested in are not interested in uplifting Bermudians first and foremost. They are more interested in establishing relationships with overseas bodies than affirming and uplifting Bermudians. And I look forward to that being fixed, because it's going to be fixed if I have anything to do about it.
You're making me want to call names, but I mentioned one earlier. You can't have a chairperson of the BTA and politicians and people in positions who they don't care for what's best. They care about what's best for themselves.
And this the people who put
on a tangent. Go ahead, Raj.
Sorry. So our quote for this morning is from Owen Arthur. For he who has health has hope, and he who has hope has everything.
Mm.
And that doesn't mean that it means prioritize your health.
Yeah,
indeed. That's what that means. Let's take care of each other. That's what that means.
That's your daily inspiration, brought to you by ER Fisheries. Folks, don't forget to subscribe on our website, thedailyhour.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Thanks again to our partners, the BAC Group of Companies, Meadowhouse, Lindo's, and People's Pharmacy, for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you on Monday. He's Rajay Danbrook. I'm Jamel Hartman. Please do make it a safe and a great weekend. We are out. Peace.